Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the man who ruled the skies of drug trafficking with strategy and boldness. Amado Carrillo Fuentes was born on December 17, 1956, in Sinaloa, Mexico, into a family with business connections and certain affinities to the world of smuggling, where the line between legality and illegality was blurred, and where cleverness and patience often outweighed brute force. From a young age, Amado witnessed the disparity between those with power and those barely surviving, and he understood, perhaps without words, that the world was a chessboard where every move had to be calculated, and that violence without intelligence was useless, ephemeral, and dangerous. His path to power was not a sudden upheaval, but a long, silent, and deliberate process, an accumulation of experiences, alliances, and decisions that seemed almost trivial to outsiders, yet were in fact the foundations of an empire. Amado learned to understand people, measure loyalty, anticipate betrayals, and above all, to recognize that patience could be deadlier than any weapon. Every action he took was carefully evaluated, every potential mistake anticipated and controlled, until his presence began to stand out among the myriad drug operators populating Mexico and Colombia in the 1980s and 1990s. Carrillo Fuentes became known as El Señor de los Cielos because he transformed drug trafficking logistics into an almost military operation, using large-capacity aircraft to transport tons of cocaine from Colombia to the United States, bypassing border controls and routes previously considered impossible. This ability to combine ingenuity with technology and discipline made his organization one of the most efficient on the continent. While other traffickers relied on violence and terror as primary tools, Amado prioritized planning, discretion, and organization. His empire was not just about economic power, but about absolute control over information, routes, communication, and the loyalty of those who worked for him. Amado Carrillo Fuentes' rise coincided with a turbulent era in Mexico and Latin America, marked by cartel conflicts, police corruption, and U.S. anti-drug policies. In this context, his figure stood out not for the spectacle of violence, but for the almost clinical efficiency with which he operated his network. His rivals were defeated not solely by direct threats, but by his ability to foresee movements, anticipate the strategies of other cartels, and exploit legal and political gaps. Every decision revealed a mind that assessed risks like a chess master, calculating several moves ahead while others improvised. Carrillo Fuentes' notoriety did not emerge from public ostentation, but from results: planes loaded with drugs, secure routes, reliable allies, and neutralized rivals. His power grew until he became a benchmark in the world of drug trafficking, a man whose word and decision were final within his organization. El Señor de los Cielos was not an empty nickname, it described someone who literally ruled drug transport by air with precision and boldness, as if each flight were a carefully choreographed military operation. Yet behind the legend, Amado was a man who understood the fragility of the empire he was building. He knew that betrayal, excessive ambition, and mistakes could destroy everything in seconds, and so he cultivated relationships, ensured loyalty, and kept information under his absolute control. His life reflects the paradox of criminal power, immense power over others, yet constant vulnerability to a legal and social system that was always seeking his downfall. Carrillo Fuentes died on July 4, 1997, during cosmetic surgery in Mexico City, in an attempt to change his appearance to evade justice. With his death, a chapter of the history of drug trafficking ended, one marked by strategy, boldness, and meticulous control. The news shocked Mexico and the world, not only because of the scale of his empire but because of the way one man had shaped a criminal sector with the intelligence and patience of an architect, rather than relying solely on violence. Today, Amado Carrillo Fuentes is remembered not only as a drug lord but as a strategist who transformed organized crime into an almost corporate system, where every move, route, and ally was part of a precise mechanism. His story is one of ambition and ingenuity applied to illegality, serving as a reminder that power, even in the shadows, requires vision, calculation, and control. Ultimately, El Señor de los Cielos demonstrates that greatness in the underworld is not solely about violence, but about planning, applied intelligence, and the ability to govern with absolute precision. His life, though marked by crime, reveals the paradox of a man who exercised power from the shadows in a way many would consider impossible, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire fear and admiration in equal measure. Do not forget to like, share, and leave your comment. Write who you want to see in the next video, the next story could be your choice.